So when you got attacked by a shark, you were doing a military exercise?
Yeah. So there was new equipment that they were trying to introduce. So it was unmanned video and sonar. So the goal was put it on a wharf, put it on a ship anywhere around the world and turn it on. And there was an automated video that would detect motion on the surface of the water. And there was an automated sonar, so that would detect surface under the water in case it was an attack swimmer or a diver. And so they needed to see if it worked. So me and my three teammates were testing it. We were the attack swimmers to see if it could pick us up. And so, yeah, we were just, it was a boring job. It wasn't anything exciting. Early in the morning in Sydney Harbour, just swimming from point A to point B. I had my new guy in the water first and then pulled him out to give him a rest, and I took over. And every time I got in the water with the Navy, I was terrified of sharks. Yeah, every time, to the point where I was like, my buddies would mess with me and they'd put pictures of great whites on my locker. But, it's like, I got a job to do. I got a task. So put that fear to the back of your mind, focus on what you actually need to do, and try not to think about it.
So you're doing your exercise out there.
It was a Wednesday. It was like 6 or 7 in the morning. We were there at 5 to get briefing and stuff. So early morning, rode my motorbike to work, jumped in the Zod, a little black inflatable boat called a Zodiac, and it's cool. It's like 5 o'clock in the morning, sun's still down. Me and my 3 mates cruise from the Navy base under the harbour bridge. You got the Opera House there. It's like no one's up. It's quiet. Just like those are the best times. You're like, yeah, this is sick. With my boys cruising in the dark. We pull up to the Navy base where they have all the warships and stuff, and we get our briefing, and it's really simple. Like I said, swimming from point A to point B, pretending to be attack swimmers. So nothing crazy, and they just wanted to test this equipment. So then I get in second, and I'm swimming towards the bow of a warship. Just, this sucks. It's boring. But in my head, I'm like, if a shark attacked me right now, where would it be better to have my hands? Because we get trained, when we're doing our training, we cross them across our chest to sort of make ourselves streamline, zip through the water. But I like to have my hands in the water by my side. I like to feel the water, and it gives me balance and stuff like that. So I'm like, if I have my hands across my chest like this, like I'm training, a shark grabs me. If it grabs me by my body, my arms are pinned and I'm not going to be able to do anything. If I have them by my side, I don't know. And I turn to look in the other direction. Feel this thing hit my leg, and I turn around like startled. It didn't hurt, just felt like pressure, and there's this massive shark head attached to me. It wasn't what I was expecting. Like, I'd never seen a large dangerous shark in real life before. So I'm like, my eyes turn into dinner plates, and I'm like, what do I do? Then I think, okay, I've seen Shark Week, I've seen the crocodile hunter, I'll jab it in the eye. And I try, but my arm won't move. And I look down and I can see it's got my leg and my hand in its mouth at the same time. And I try and pull my hand, and I can see the flesh tearing a little bit with the teeth embedded into my wrist. So then it hurts a little bit. I'm like, shit. I try left hand. I can't reach the eyeball. It's just too far away. So I grab it by the nose and I try to lever it off me. But that doesn't work. It's got clamped down. So a bull shark, which it was, I've done studies with this in the past. We've done pressure testing with great whites and stuff. A bull shark has a greater pressure of bite than a great white of the same size. So this thing is like latched. I'm not getting out of there. And so the only other thing I can think of is punch it in the nose. You hear that? So I cock back. But the shark at that point decides, I'm going to eat this thing. And it starts to shake me. And all the fight goes out of me. The pain was just incredible. Like, took every ounce of fight out of me. And it took me underwater, thrashed me. And I came back up and I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm going back down. So I take a big gasp of air, go down, and it keeps thrashing me. And the pain just makes me scream underwater. And it keeps me down there you can see the shark attack. It's online. It got posted because I did so many TV shows about it, and they petitioned the military for it. So you can see it if you go and Google Navy diver shark attack. It'll eventually come up. Lasts 8 seconds. For me, like, I can go through this so slowly in my head, and it feels like minutes. And I'm underwater, and I think to myself, I'm not going home today. Like, I'm going to die right now. And it wasn't fear. I said to myself, are you ready to die? And I look back to everything that I'd done, I was a really lost kid, lost teenager. I was bullied my whole life. And then I started fighting and drinking and stealing and all manner of terrible thing. I kicked out of home at 17, flunked high school, and I was selling weed. And I got jumped by 20 dudes, and I had to leave my hometown. And then I started working behind a bar in a strip club, became a rapper, and thought I'd change my life. I opened up for Snoop Dogg in 1998. I was like, I've changed everything. And then and then fell apart, and I joined the military. And I was like, I've done so much good. The military taught me to be a man, a good person of service. And then I found the clearance. I was done so much cool stuff. I'm like, you know what? From where I came from to where I am now, I'm happy. I've done more than I ever expected that I could have. And I'm like, I've lived 10 lives in these 31 years. If I'm going to die now, I'm ready to go. And I just let go. I was waiting for death. And a peace came on me. And I accepted it. I thought, you know what? This isn't the end. I can feel there's another adventure next. And then the shark, it was thrashing me. Its teeth met in the middle of my leg, and it ripped my whole hamstring out of my leg, and it ripped my hand off. And my wetsuit made me buoyant. So I come to the surface. The shark is like, does this thrash, it's taking off. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not dead. I got to get out of here. I see the safety boat, and I start swimming, and I take a stroke, and I see that my whole hand is gone. My arm ends at the end of my wetsuit, and my medical training kicks in. I think I've got to keep that wound above my heart to try and slow the bleeding so I can get back to the boat and survive. Not knowing that my whole hamstring's gone. I've got an arterial bleed. I'm literally swimming back to the safety boat through a pool of my own blood with one hand and one leg. And I didn't think I was going to make it. I was thinking this shark's going to come back. I was just waiting for it to grab my leg and pull me under. But they teach you this laser-like focus, complete your task. And so I was like, I have one job, get to that boat. And obviously my teammates had seen as well. So they're coming towards me, swimming back to the boat, one hand, one leg, probably not going anywhere. And the guys come in, and they told me later, the blood was so thick we could taste it in the air when we got to you. They pulled me into the boat, and I was so relieved to not get bitten and eaten anymore. I relaxed, passed out. And my teammate, Tomo, all the guys did exactly what they were supposed to do. He thought I was going into cardiac arrest. So he's like pummeling me in the chest. Got to wake him up. And it worked, and I woke up, and I see my hands gone, ripped off by a shark, blood everywhere.
You wake up, you're in the boat?
Yeah, 10 seconds later while he's stimulating my heart. I see Tomo's beating the shit out of me. He was like, my hand's gone, Tomo's beating me up. I'm like, this sucks. I'm going to go home. I should have called in sick. But it was a hard day. I nearly died a couple of times. If it wasn't for my teammates, and that training that I had, I was extremely fit. So my body, I guess, was used to relying on lowered amounts of oxygen in my blood. I knew enough about medical stuff to know that I shouldn't look at my leg, because if it was horrific, that visual thing can put you into shock, and shock can kill you. So I didn't look at my leg. I held onto my own arm to try and stem the bleeding. One of the guys was putting a tourniquet around the wound, and I just stayed awake. And I'm like, as long as I can see Tomo, as long as I can hear his voice, I was still alive. And so it was like, as we do in the military, we're always trying to lighten the mood. When things get serious, it's just instinctual. I don't know why. So I'm cracking jokes. I'm like, oh man, can you just make sure someone looks after my motorbike? I don't think I'm going to be able to ride with this leg. And he's like, shut the fuck up, Paul. You were dying. So just focus on staying alive. And so, paramedics eventually came, whisked me off to hospital, and I was unconscious for a few days. I went through 300 donations of blood, 150 litres. As soon as they put it into me, it just kept pumping out of my body. So, all those people that donate blood, thank you. You saved lives indirectly. I've got 300 different people's blood pumping through me, apparently.
Where was the blood going when you said it just kept coming out of you?
Yeah, so I'm on the hospital bed. It's just pouring out of my leg onto the bed. Oh. Yeah, because they couldn't stop the arterial bleed until they had found it. Because one of the guys before that actually had to stick his hand in my leg and pinch closed an artery. Otherwise, I would have bled out there on the dock. So, with the tourniquet on, they took me to the hospital, and then they had to take that off to try and find that artery. So until they found that, I was just squirt, 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 blood everywhere.
And did you have an idea of where your leg was bitten off in that moment?
No, because the hamstring was gone and 25 centimeters of the sciatic nerve was gone, I couldn't feel a lot of it. I could feel pain all through my body, but I couldn't localize it. So I didn't know how bad my leg was. And I even had the leg for another week. You know, they'd filled it with bandages and taped it up and all that sort of stuff. So for the week, I didn't know how bad my leg was. All I knew was they put vibrating bandages on it to try and stimulate blood flow, but I could see my leg, but I couldn't feel my foot. And it's a very strange feeling to be able to see it, but you can't feel it, you can't wiggle it. And they'd come in to try and test the reflexes, and they'd pin me in the bottom of the foot to see if I could feel it. And I'd have to close my eyes and guess where it was. And I was like, oh, I can feel it. But it was my mind playing tricks. And it just got to the point after that first week where I had to make a decision. You know, the doctor came in and he did exactly what I needed him to do. He didn't bullshit me. And he left it up to me. You know, he said, you can keep your leg, but, you know, the muscle's gone, the nerve's gone, and that chunk will always be missing from your leg. We can skin graft over it, but basically you're going to be carrying that leg around like a lump of dead wood. Your happiness will suffer, your motivation will suffer, your fitness, everything will suffer. Alternatively, we can remove the leg and have you walking, potentially running on a prosthetic within 12 months. And I'm on ketamine and morphine at the same time. I'm high as shit. And I'm like, Doc, you can take my leg and just turn me into a Terminator. And I was 100% serious because I was high and I thought you could do that. So I decided to have the rest of the leg taken off. And he was really nice. Like, he took photos through the whole sequence of exactly how they did that. And so I have all the photos, and I've been motivational speaking for years. And in the early days, I used to show and talk through those photos. But I had 70 people pass out in my audiences over the years.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I did a job for Microsoft in Australia once, and it was like 120 people, standing room only, and 6 people passed out.
They wouldn't have passed out at Apple.
Yeah, right. We'll see. I haven't done a job for Apple yet. Yeah, the AV guy passed out over his control panel. They said it was the best conference they ever had. So, like, I felt bad. They're like, no, yeah, that was good.
I can see some people loving it, but I saw those photos. It's intense.
Yeah, and so I've wound it back now. I show the Shark Attack footage, and I show 2 photos to like really drive home how serious it was, and how amazing the human body is to overcome something like that. And so that was pretty intense, but I got to like 50 people, and I'm like, I can't keep doing this. Like, yeah, it's so hard to get the audience's attention back when one of their friends has passed out. Everyone wants to know who. I've never had an American pass out. Now, I thought I did. I was doing a big conference. It was like 500 people, and a guy passed out. And I was like, oh, my first American. And his table yelled out, he's Canadian. So I don't like people passing out anymore. But you have to show that. You have to show people the realization of what can happen and also what we can overcome. Yeah. You know, the human mind and the human body is far greater a tool than most of us even realize.
How far away were you when you had to swim back to the boat once it happened?
Probably 600-700 feet. I don't know feet that well. About 200 meters.
Did it feel like forever?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I was like, oh, I'm gonna die. I was like, I'm not making it to that boat. But also the boat was coming towards me as well, so it didn't take as long, anywhere near what I thought. But you know, we're in those moments where you're like, fear of death and agony, like that. You know, and people say that you can't remember pain. You can. Yeah, you can. Like, absolute agony. It's funny, people ask me if it hurt, and I thought that was the stupidest question for a long time. But then I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, shock and all that sort of stuff. Okay, it's reasonable. But then I'm like, kick that coffee table, that big wooden coffee table, as hard as you can with your bare shin, and then times that by 1,000,000. And it's like a pain that is so huge and overwhelming, you really can't grasp it. Like, and the fact you can't stop it, you become a total victim to it, and it's horrible. You can't imagine pain like that.